Okay, this sounds crazy. In Bernie Sanders, you have a guy who's way out there on the left, free college for everybody, universal health care, running against Hillary Clinton. In Donald Trump, you have a guy who wants to build a wall along the Mexican border and temporarily bar Muslim immigrants. And yet, serious political prognosticators say that Trump could win some of Bernie's supporters when inevitably he loses to Hillary. In fact, 28% of Bernie supporters in a poll say they're not going to support Hillary Clinton. So how is it possible these two men are so different stylistically? And I think the answer is Trump is railing against a rigged system. Sanders is railing against a rigged system. Trump's obviously a political outsider. Sanders is a senator, but he wasn't even a Democrat until last year. They both also are very, very vociferous in opposing what they call unfair trade deals, and they both kind of appeal to middle-class economic anxieties and maybe more so in the case of Trump, to working-class whites who feel like they've gotten screwed by the political system. And this is really interesting because if you do it in the Washington way, the Beltway way of keeping score, you make up a list. Well, you look at Trump's positions on this, this, and this, and you look at Sanders' position on this, this, and this. How could there be any overlap among their voters? But the fact is, in the real world, voters don't think that way. Most voters, they're not necessarily ideologically pure. They know who they like. They vote with their gut. A few key issues may speak to them. And that's why I think you have this sort of crazy quilt politics in 2016 in which it's actually a serious prospect that Trump could put a couple of Democratic states in play, in part by winning over the kinds of Democrats who would support Bernie, who's running far to Hillary's left. But Trump is also running to Hillary's left on certain issues. Military intervention, for example. He was always criticizing the Iraq War, which he voted for. And he wants to protect Medicare and Social Security. I mean, so does she, but that's not usually the Republican position. All in all, it seems to me that the entire electorate is moving left to some degree because in Donald Trump, you have a nominee who is arguably the most moderate of the 17 Republicans who started out this race. And in Bernie Sanders, you have the leader of a movement who has pushed Hillary Clinton to the left on issues like trade and even health care. So it's very hard to make sense of this all. But I do think that we need to get away from sort of checkbook politics and understand that the anger out there, the populism, really is part of what is driving the movements, and they are movements that are keeping Donald Trump now competitive with Hillary Clinton, and that have kept Bernie Sanders alive running against the Clinton machine. And that means the pundits who usually score these things need to adjust their thinking because this is one crazy year.